we stay in Britain for the next story. I saw another play last night by the same bloke that wrote the last play I was raving about, James Graham, who wrote Punch, that's on at the New Vic, about the young man who killed another young man with a single punch and has gone on to work in the field of restorative justice, up to and including with his victim's mother. An extraordinary young man. I had the pleasure of meeting him. So did you, Jacob Dunn. He was here a couple of weeks ago. But James Graham's written another play about Gareth Southgate, would you believe, called Dear England, and he has updated it now because the original version of the play kind of finished on an upbeat note, as if we were about to win the Euros, where we lost to Spain in the final. The play ended on a kind of upbeat note, and he's now rewritten it, the second half of the play, to accommodate grim reality of that 2-1 defeat. And it's a piece of extraordinary theatre. It's utterly magical. And I'll tell you what it does. It makes you realise that Gareth Southgate is a mensch, is a profoundly impressive man who really took on an awful lot of ingrained bigotry and prejudice during his public and private performance as England manager. So when he was selected to give the Dimbleby Lecture this year, an extraordinarily prestigious invitation, I'm not sure people who were not fully across Southgate's background would have known quite what to expect. He has targeted two things effectively. He's targeted the absence of role models for young men and the hideous, callous, to use his words, manipulative and toxic influences who have moved into the vacuum created by this lack of or absence of traditional societal father figures. I don't know if you've watched Adolescence yet, the Stephen Graham show. This isn't about kids who haven't got dads necessarily. It's about kids whose dads are powerless or unaware of the influences that are exerting their malign power upon their sons. I want to play you a couple of clips from the speech that Gareth Southgate gave. The first looks at that lack of role models, and the second will look at another element that perhaps explains why they are so vulnerable to the callous, manipulative and toxic influences. Have a listen to this, because if you take anything away from that play, it's the idea that you can be a failure, as in he didn't actually win an international tournament, despite completely rewriting England's form book on the international stage. So you can be both a failure and an enormous success.
Young men are suffering. They're feeling isolated. They're grappling with their masculinity and with their broader place in society. As real-world communities and mentorship declines, young men end up withdrawing, reluctant to talk or express their emotions. They spend more time online searching for direction and are falling into unhealthy alternatives like gaming, gambling, and pornography. We need leaders to set the right tone, to be the role models we want for our young men. We have to show young men that character is more important than status, that how you treat others is more important than how much money you make, that values matter, courage, humility, and integrity over selfishness, greed, arrogance. The culture we create today will shape the kind of men that we inherit tomorrow.
30 minutes after 11. That's a really powerful point, isn't it? It's that, the culture we create today will shape the culture that we inhabit tomorrow. And that question of status is something he picked up on later. I really recommend that you listen to the entire speech that he gave last night while I was on the South Bank watching a play about him. It's funny how the world turns sometimes. He picked up on that theme of status a little later, and I don't know whether this will hold up. But at first glance, it sounded to me a bit like the male equivalent of the body image issues we've talked a lot about with regard, largely but not exclusively, to young women. the idea that you're looking at an unattainable ideal online, and the fact that you both seek to achieve it and can't, is of extraordinarily destructive psychic power. I wonder whether he's describing young men having a similar relationship with both online faux perfection, unattainability, and desire.
Today, young people are bombarded by information at all times of the day, from a device that fits neatly into the palm of their hand and updates by the second. They're targeted with images of the perfect body, the perfect career, and the perfect life. A beautifully crafted highlights reel where success appears to be instant and effortless.
I don't know that this will work, and I haven't got any time really to set it up, but I'm wondering when older people realised how different it is for younger people. And I'm going to focus on men today. When did you realise that the challenges that young men face today are profoundly different from the ones that we faced when we were young? Why are young boys, in your view, and anyone can answer this, mums, dads, uncles, teachers, formerly young men like me, we were all young ones, increasingly hard though that may be to believe, why do you think they are so potentially lost and or susceptible to these toxic online influences? I'd like to get stuck into that straight away and spare you my own pontifications on the subject, because you've just had the pleasure of listening to Sir Gareth's. But it's up to you. If you don't ring in, then you'll get another monologue. So it's entirely up to you. Why do you think young men are struggling so much in ways, crucially, that are new and different? Some of them won't be. Some of them will be old and well documented, but in specific challenges of the modern era.